Who has 5 minutes.
Thank you, Laskin Corla. Minister, congratulations on the launch of your programme. I did send my apologies that I couldn't attend because I had commitments here today, but it's wonderful to see programme events commemorating women in all guises, but particularly, I suppose, as we speak today about in politics. The centenary of the extension of the right to vote for women is an important milestone, and it is important that it is celebrated. However, the struggle for equality continues. Female political representation stands at 22% in the Dáil and 30% in the Seanad, an historic high, but far below a fair balance. This inequality is reflected in boardrooms, managerial positions and pay levels. The 100th anniversary of the Representation of the People Act 1918 would serve as a reminder of how far we have come and also how far remains to go. The Representation of the People Act 1918 massively expanded voting rights by abolishing practically all property qualifications for men and enfranchising women over 30 who met minimum property qualifications. However, despite their war contribution, women were still not politically equal to men, who could vote from the age of 21 without property restrictions. Full electoral equality was achieved in Ireland in 1922. In a speech in the Dáil on the 2nd of March 1922, Constance Markievicz said of women's suffrage, "Women voicing their opinions publicly in an ordinary and simple manner of registering the vote in the polling booth." Countess Markievicz was the first ever female MP to be elected. In December 1918, while still carrying out a prison sentence, Markievicz was elected to the House of Commons as a representative for Dublin's St Patrick's Division. As an Irish Republican, she chose not to take up her seat. She later served as a Minister for Labour in the First Dáil and was a founding member of Fianna Fáil in 1926. However, there was not another female cabinet minister until 1979, when Fianna Fáil TD Maura Ann Geoghegan Quinn was appointed Minister for the Gaeltacht. Among 19 women, only 19 women have ever been appointed to the cabinet. Disappointingly, the number of women in the cabinet are actually diluted by An Taoiseach Leo Varadkar upon his appointment as Taoiseach. The continued political gap also exists in boardrooms. Ireland's female boardroom rate currently stands at around 16%, and the National Women's Council of Ireland have called for quotas in the country to ensure a fairer female representation in business. Fianna Fáil takes pride in its efforts to expand female participation in politics. We have conducted systematic reviews and actions to boost numbers going for office and internal party positions. We are committed to addressing issues like the gender pay gap, like the 5C barriers to female political participation and expanding boardroom membership for women. There are now more women in the lower house of our national parliament than ever before. Female TDs have now strengthened in numbers. They are rarely a lone voice in a room full of men. A diversity of opinion is needed on the political stage, and women need to have a voice in politics because women's specific rights and interests are not protected otherwise. In all, 35 women were elected to Dáil Éireann in 2016, taking 22.3% of the seats being contested and now comprising of 22.2% of all deputies. That's a whopping 40% increase from the previous record of 25 women elected in 2011, composing of 15% of the Dáil Éireann at the time. Many observers have pointed to this rise as being directly attributable to the introduction of gender quotas, which allows for party state funding to be cut by half unless 30% of the general election candidates are women. I think it is welcome, I think it is poignant that we would celebrate this today, and in all, 25 of the 40 constituencies now have at least one female representative in the National Parliament, as opposed to 22 of the 43 in 2011. As we know, Minister, there are a number of barriers that still exist when it comes to politics in getting women involved. There is the 5 Cs, which we often hear talked about, and that is childcare, cash, confidence, culture and candidate selection process. I would like to compliment Professor Yvonne Galligan here today, who was instrumental in providing and publishing our own Gender Equality Action Plan and made huge strides for us as a party to move forward and bring women to the national stage, to the local stage, and also within our smaller commons and CDCs around the country. Thank you.
And Chuck Louise O'Reilly is 5